Hey, welcome to a new Ramble here on the channel, and today we actually have another Project Rebalance thing. I made a Ramble in December, I think, because Jagex was like, oh yeah, we're gonna just do all of these rebalancing next year because there's a lot of things that we need to rebalance, and they already released the project rebalance for the Fang and the Scythe. They already applied those changes, so those changes are done. But this week we actually have another batch of it with the skilling, more specifically agility, mining, slayer, and thieving. So let's actually talk about those, and let's actually see what Jagex is or is going to implement, because these aren't actually implementations yet. These are just ideas that Jagex has on how to tackle a lot of these issues. So starting with agility, everyone's favorite, and as you can see, 99, everyone's favorite. But agility obviously has always been sort of a pain point. Over the years, it has become better, especially with updates like Allo Sepulchre. The rooftop was obviously huge when RuneScape came out, although agility was a lot of one note because of the rooftops exactly, so eventually they had to add other things to it, although rooftops are still pretty OP. Now, when it comes to agility, what they plan on doing is to essentially just rebalance all of the agility courses. So currently, sort of, unlock at level 10, I think it's Drainer, and then 20, you unlock Alkari, then Varrock, and Canifis, I think it's at 40, and then Falador, Sears, then, I don't know, I don't know all of them, but still, that's mostly what you do for agility outside of Allo Sepulchre, which requires sort of a Master to Grandmaster quest. I forget if it's Grandmaster or Master. I think it's only Master, but still, you need the access to Dark Mayor in order to do Allo Sepulchre. And overall, it's a pretty good thing, but not everyone has access to it. So outside of that, the way you pretty much train agility is through rooftop agility. So what Jagex wants to do is sort of just rebalance all of the XP for the rooftops, and overall, I think it's a good thing, make it overall more smoother, and just have a smoother curve. And overall, from what I've seen, is also sort of a small buff in XP, especially when it comes to the late game, like for example, the Ardoin I'm reading here. I have this on the background, so sorry for the mouse always leaving the screen, but essentially the Ardoin, where's the Ardoin? Yeah, so it went from 62k to 70k, so there's a small buff, which I think it's needed. Agility is incredibly slow, it's excruciating slow, despite the fact that nowadays it is far better when it comes to a lot of its rewards. That's the first part. However, the second part is more related to them also wanting to add Marks of Grace to all agility courses, and all of the normal ones, so the Penguin, Barbarian, Chasian, Apatol, and Wilderness, Werewolf. Personally, I disagree with this. I would much rather see these courses, because Rooftop, the way I always perceived it, is to be its own unique activity. So you have the normal agility courses, you have the Rooftop agility courses, and then you have Allo Sepulchre, and you have Brimhaven agility arena, right? So all of these are different types of activities. So I think that while Graceful is incredibly useful for the game, and it's one of the first things you should go for, ultimately, if Graceful is all that important, and Jagex doesn't want you to spend like 50 agility levels running rooftops in order to get it, they should just make it cheaper, because overall I think that they should just actually add different rewards to the normal courses, because I think that the normal courses should offer something different than just the what are they called? Yeah, Marks of Grace, because overall, if you're just going to add Marks of Grace to everything, then yeah, sure, it's a core agility component, but again, I would rather, like for example, Allo Sepulchre as a ring, the Ring of Endurance, I think it is. I think you could do the same thing where, rooftops offer, the graceful outfit, but then, the normal agility courses like the Barbarian course and the Penguin course and stuff like that offer maybe an off shield slot, or maybe a necklace slot or something like that, relating to agility, like with recharging run energy, or maybe, you can, if you are stopping there. For example, an idea for an amulet that I have is, I'm just sitting here, I'm at 100 energy, right? Maybe if you have that amulet, you can just store extra run energy, like a 50 extra run energy. So now I wouldn't consume run energy because my necklace would be consuming run energy, right? And just a 50, maybe 50, maybe 20, something just as long as you're sitting there letting your energy regenerate, any over regeneration of energy would go like into your amulet or something like that, and that could be like a thing they could buy with another currency, or maybe you have a chance of obtaining it as a drop after completing a lap on the barbarian course or the apatol course or something like that. Again, like I think that offering different rewards to incentivize people to do different things is better, because overall right now I think that what's going to happen is simply people are going to be doing rooftops all the way to like 60 or 70, and then they're going to unlock Allo Sepulchre, and they're either going to do rooftops all the way or they're going to do Allo Sepulchre. I don't see people actually doing any of the other courses unless they have an extra incentive to do so. Even with the extra XP bonus that these courses are going to give and everything, I just do not see people going away from the rooftop courses, especially because the rooftop courses actually offer a very good thing, which is they are semi-AFK. They're not completely AFK, but you can just like put your thing on the side of the screen or whatever, and I really hope I didn't fuck with that on my OBS, actually. Wait, let me check. Okay, no, it's all fine. But yeah, so essentially you can like put it on the side, you can put some YouTube video on the side, and just sort of click every once in a while, you can also put the camera like super zoomed out in certain ways where you can just click always on the same spot. So there's also that. Ultimately, like there's a lot you can do when it comes to rooftops, so I don't think that adding Bars of Grace is gonna buff the other rooftops or the other agility courses. I would rather see a more exclusive reward to them that isn't related to rooftops, much like how Allo Sepulchre offers different rewards. You have not just the Ring of Eternatus, but also normal loot, so you can choose, hey, I can do Allo Sepulchre or I can do rooftops. I get rewards for both of them, but each one of them give me different rewards, right? I think that would be a far better choice in this scenario. And the other one was the other thing that they want to do is to remove points of failure towards the end of agility courses. I think they should just remove points of failure altogether. It's not very challenging or fun. Like, when I'm doing rooftops, at least, like, Allo Sepulchre, when I fail, it's usually because I fucked up. Like, I clicked on the wrong tile and I got it with an error or whatever, right? So, it's normal that you fail. But in a rooftop is like a more relaxing experience. Failing just makes it seem like, like, imagine that now I would be smithing, right? So, I'm here, I'm smithing some dart tips, and then, like, I would fail randomly. That's how it feels to try and agility in certain rooftops, where it's like, you're just sitting there and then you just randomly fail. Like, I don't like the failure in rooftops. Failure in agility obstacles, maybe, whatever, I get it. But in rooftops, I don't know. Maybe they should just remove it altogether. And especially because some rooftops don't even have, like, failure points either. Especially after a certain level, so, yeah, it's whatever. It's a good change, although, again, just remove it altogether. And then next step, we have the Brimhaven Agility Dungeon, which they want to do a lot of like different changes to it. They want to make it more like mid-level, although Brimhaven Agility Dungeon, fun fact, was at some point the best XP rate per hour, even when Arduin course was in the game. This was before Allo Sepulchre and everything, although you had to be like really greasy in order to get the best XP rates. But overall, what they're gonna do is essentially just make it more XP and just add some like quality of life updates to it. So in this list, they have various traps to feel more smooth and responsive, which is fine. I don't actually think, I think that they should not only just make the traps more smoother, because it is clunky to navigate that place. Sometimes it's just clicking, because sometimes you spam click when you want to go to some place fast. What ends happening in Brimhaven oftentimes is that because you're spam clicking, after you cross the obstacle, your character either turns to the other side and sort of gets stuck because you're trying to pass the object, or it just starts going through the obstacle again, and it's just kind of annoying. So hopefully they end up fixing that, and they end up removing the cutscenes out of certain obstacles, or at least make the cutscenes more optional. Although I don't think that every obstacle should be as fast as every obstacle. I think that one of the fun parts about agility, or Brimhaven Agility, is that you sort of need to know which obstacles are the best ones to do, because some are faster and slower, some paths are faster and slower, and I think that that little bit of optimization is really good. But overall, obviously, a lot of these tweaks are just good tweaks to the skills. They also adjusted fail rates, again, just a good thing, I think. If this is going to be a mid-level, you kind of want mid-levels to not suck throughout it. They also are planning to give players flat XP rate when ending tickets, so instead of them scaling with your level, they're just flat, is fine. And then they also want to give XP when you obtain a ticket, not just when you're exchanging it. I don't know, it seems a bit cheesy to me. I get why they are trying to do it. Again, more incentive on actually doing the thing and more incentive on actually doing the tickets as opposed to just the big reward at the end. I think the reward at the end is already more than enough. I think that's sort of the appeal of the Brimhaven Agility Arena. Although I'm not opposed at giving it more XP. Again, agility is very bad, so when it comes to XP, it's still incredibly slow. So I'm not against it. And they also want to add another thing where every amount of tickets they get, you get like a voucher to essentially spend on the non-XP currency. So the XP or the tickets, the Brimhaven Agility Arena tickets, would be exchangeable for XP, and currently they're exchangeable for other rewards. This would make it so Brimhavens or vouchers, you would get those instead to spend on the non-XP rewards, which, yeah, I guess it's good. I don't think it's entirely necessary, as I do think that sometimes, it's good for players to, because like, if you're already going to offer XP by obtaining the tickets themselves, not just exchanging them, then you could essentially just give players the option of, do you want the rewards for GP, right? So this could become sort of Allos Epicure in the sense of like, it's really good GP, although it might not be the best XP per hour, or this is decent XP, but you don't really get a lot of rewards out of it. So, I don't know how to feel about it, but yeah, for the most part, more encouragement for players to spend stuff in the store. And they also want, MLAs, I don't want that, but whatever, remove the red ticket system. This is really good. And essentially, that's it. So they want to do two things, from what I remember. The first one is related to, if you are the first one to touch a pillar on a Brimhaven Agility world, essentially you get a little bit extra XP. I don't know how to feel about that. I get the competitive social aspect of it. I guess it's fine, as long as it's not like substantial XP, I think it's fine. And then they want to add potential like sub-arrows, so you can do it after the first pillar. I guess you could do it, but at the same time, I do like the Brimhaven Agility Arena being sort of this middle ground where you need to be active and like paying attention when you get to the pillar, but then you can take your eyes off screen for a second. This would mean that it's entirely just, you need to pay attention all the time, so I don't know. I guess it's good incentive, especially because like the only other way to gain agility XP outside of touching the pillars would be to just surpass the obstacles over and over and over, which can put you in a bad position if the pillar spawns really far away. So yeah, also that's something that I didn't see in the blog, is the pillars themselves, because sometimes what ends happening is if the pillar is, so you have like a grid of 5 by 5, if you are like here and the pillar spawns there, you do not have time to get there. Because the obstacles are too slow. I would like to see them do something where the pillars cannot spawn like outside of a specific range, because otherwise it's really bad. Because currently the strat that people do, and there's a strat that sometimes it makes the minigame really, really active, which is if the pillar spawns at the corner, you go there and then you go back to the center platform. So, because from the center platform you can reach every platform, so you're not encouraged to stay there. So, if I want good XP rates, I would be more wasting XP by going to the middle, because that's the only way I can ensure the pillar. Also, I would like to see some sort of, what was it called? The streaking. So essentially, depending on how many pillars you get in a row, you get like a little bonus, maybe a couple more tickets or something like that. I know that, again, the point of the vouchers is already that you do that, but still, I would like to see that incentive with the tickets themselves. And lastly, we have agility shortcuts, where they remove the diary requirements for a lot of the shortcuts, which I think it's good, because, again, requiring hard and elite diaries for a shortcut that saves like fucking 5 seconds, it's so stupid. I'm really glad that they did away with those. And they also removed, or not removed, but lowered the levels for a lot of the agility shortcuts, which I also think it's good. I think that, look, when it's a really good agility shortcut, that's cool, but most agility shortcuts, no. And they also made some. So they added two agility shortcuts. But where is it? Because yes, okay. So they sped up the mysterious pipe, the one that goes to alchemical hydra. Thankfully, honestly, sometimes I only use that agility shortcut to not take damage from the hydras because I did not think it was actually faster. I mean, it was faster, but it does not feel like it, so I'm glad that they improved on that. And the only thing that I'll say about the agility shortcuts is that one thing that I would like to see them do is offer sort of a reward where, I don't know how they would do this, but you know all the fires from making friends with my arm, I think, is the name of the quest, where like you get to the salts, then you can get the permanent fires on like the giant mole, or you can get the permanent fire on the God Wars dungeon place, so you know your stats don't drain and stuff like that. Overall, I would like to see a reward sort of like that, but for agility shortcuts that require a grapple and hook. You know, so like you do the quest and then you have like sort of a crate with, you know, just regular grapples or whatever, and, you know, a crossbow near the shortcuts that require a crossbow and a grapple to cross, because otherwise right now, the point of agility shortcuts is that they don't save a lot of time. Most agility shortcuts save a few seconds at most, right? They're just more convenience than they are like, you know, about being good rewards or whatever. They're just a convenient thing. And unfortunately, with the grapple shortcuts things, the problem with them is that having to carry both a grapple and a crossbow is incredibly inconvenient. So most of the times, unless you already want to use that shortcut and you know that you want to use that shortcut, which most of the times will be very niche cases, because you will most always opt for teleports, you're not going to have them with you to take advantage of the shortcut. I would think that those types of shortcuts are actually the least used in the entirety of RuneScape, so I would like to see some improvement made to it. But still, I think that overall this was pretty good. It was a pretty good start to agility, and hopefully, these, because I think that these types of changes do show that Jagex does want to improve the skills even further. And look, a lot of these skills, the amount of methods, the quality of methods, when compared to 2013, a lot of them have been massively improved. Next up we have Thieving. I don't have much to say about Thieving. Overall, they just increased the XP rates related to some NPCs, because some NPCs are so high level that you continuously fail. It's kind of annoying. So they're gonna make the fail rate, they're gonna adjust the fail rate, they're gonna tweak it so it's more XP per hour. And overall, they are better to pickpocket stuff like gnomes, heroes, paladins, and so on. So you don't, get to the RD, because right now the meta is either Pyramid Plunder and the Knight of Ardoin. I'm trying to think, is there any other meta for thieving? I guess mid-levels you have the Menafite Thugs, but yeah, outside of those three, you don't really thieve many other NPCs, especially not after the Knights of Ardoin, which are the best XP per hour by far. So, just a good thing. In terms of stalls, they're also going to make the stalls respawn faster, which means obviously better XP rates, and they're going to offer some different rewards for the stalls, which I'm actually I think it's a good thing, because offering different solutions or different ways of getting items and stuff like that, to me, is always welcomed. Even if it's niche, whatever, the point of RuneScape and what makes it a good sandbox, in my opinion, is that you don't just have one way of doing things, you have multiple ways of doing things, right? Yeah, sure, I can get myself some runes and teleport to Lumbridge. I don't know where the teleport to Lumbridge is, but teleport to Lumbridge, or I can get myself an axe and get into the canoe and take a canoe to Lumbridge, right? You have a choice, and that choice, to me, yes, obviously most of the times you'll want to teleport because it's faster, but sometimes you're gonna be like, well, I don't have the fucking teleports with me, I'm in this place, so I'll just fucking take the canoe instead, right? I think that these types of changes are good to the game. They offer more and diverse gameplay, but yeah, that's pretty much about thieving. Again, thieving, out of these four skills, I think thieving was the one that was the best. It doesn't offer, thieving is not as diverse as maybe some other skills on the list, it doesn't have as many activities, but it also doesn't need to. It's a decent skill, it's decent in the game, so yeah. Next up we have Slayer, and more specifically the changes for Slayer. So they say that newer players are often confused by the popularity of Slayer, and that's, beginner Slayer relies a lot of out-of-game research. And yes, that is pretty much true. So what they did is they removed certain tasks from Masna, Vanica, and Chowder, which are like the most, I guess, lower level Slayer Masters. Like, you know, and yeah, it's kind of stupid that like Vanica requires fucking green dragons and bronze dragons. Like, holy shit. Even as a high level, when I get like iron dragons, I'm like, oh my fucking god, dude. You know, it's like, I don't like it. I imagine being a fucking mid-level player and just going to Vanica and like, oh yeah, kill me bronze dragons. And you're like, bro, I have a fucking rune see me. What do you want me to do? You know, so I think that removing a lot of these just shitty tasks is pretty good. Now, on top of that, they also changed killer watts, fever spiders, and cave bugs. So killer watts now offer a chance to drop grounding bolts, which are good against electrical monsters, I think. Which right now only killer watts exist. I think that these type of changes are good to diversify combat and make it deeper, because right now when it comes to especially weapons and stuff like that, it's very okay, so you go from this weapon to 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 this weapon, and this weapon is like the best in every circumstance. I think that when it comes to Dragon Hunter Lance, for example, being good against dragons, you know, sure, it's not good against anything else, but it's good against dragons, you know, so you'll want it when fighting dragons and so on. So I think that these types of changes are good. They diversify content more. And there's also another weapon. So Fever Spiders are gonna get a loot table. I don't know why they didn't have one, but okay. And Cave Bags are gonna get the Bag Smasher or the Bag Basher, which is a 3-tick usable, or 3-tick attack rate, minimum hit of 5 against bugs, and it degrades after 1,000 uses. Again, much like, for example, how the Arclight is strong against demons, you know. Again, I think more of these types of weapons is good, although this coming from a lower level Slayer monster, I don't know how to feel about that, because as a result, I don't know how OP the weapon is going to be, but I don't think it needs to be completely OP, especially because I think the carry partisan already exists, so yeah, the carries specifically works actually against Call fights, which technically are a bug, but yeah, you know, like, again, this type of weapons, I think it's good to have in the game. But yeah, that's pretty much for Slayer. And finally, mining. And oh boy, okay, so mining had a lot of changes because mining kinda sucks. Ironically, a lot of the changes to mining were actually more related to the activities you do in mining and not so much the skill itself. So the skill itself only had the change of having more clue geode rates, which, I mean, good, I guess. That's pretty much it. So overall, I really would like to see just a mining rework and a smithing rework, not in the sense of RuneScape 3 maybe, but like, although I do think that they are far superior, mining is by far my least favorite skill in old school, and I guess it fucking shows because I only maxed it now. Yeah, I maxed like agility much before fucking mining, and yeah. So essentially, I really hope that Jagex eventually does sort of like a full rework of it. Again, it doesn't need to be like a full rework. I want them to rework how rocks work and stuff like that, and I want them to rework sort of the progression of it. Because overall, like, contrary to like fishing, for example, when I think about fishing, and then I think, okay, fishing is about fishing. Fish. These are the fishes that I can get. Oh, but I can do X extra activity like Temporos, or I can do mulch, enter, and fishing. I can do fishing trawler. I can do minnows. But those are like the extra activities that I think after fishing. The problem with mining is that people don't think about core mining. Like, core mining is the extra of the skill. Like, core mining is the extra of maybe sometimes I'll need a rune ore and I'll try to mine a rune ore. Right? That's it. You know, like, mining doesn't have the core that other skills have. Mining is essentially entirely composed of the extra activities. So I would like to see maybe a rework of some kind to make the core actually worth it alongside the extra content that the game offers. So when it comes to the actual changes that they have, the first one was obviously Motherlode Mine. So the lower veins now actually also work on a timer. which is good because chance to deplete is fucking annoying. The upper floor veins last longer. They already worked on a timer, so the way that the veins work in the upper floor is essentially the moment you start mining it, or like the moment you get a ore, you activate a timer, and after that timer on average, the ore will deplete. Which means that overall it's actually much better for you to be on top of other players in the same vein, because it means that more veins will be available for people to mine, right? And it doesn't really matter if there are 100 people mining the same vein. Sort of like how forestry works nowadays, where, 100 people being in the same tree doesn't change the chance of it depleting, which is, I think, is a really good change. The problem is, when that change was implemented to the upper floor of the motherlode mine, fucking players still just mine their own spots instead of just coming together, so there's that. When you want people to mine together, they don't want people. When you don't want people to mine together, they do. So yeah, but obviously it's a good change. They also made it so coal provides XP when cleaning pay dirt, which improves lower XP rates, or XP rates at lower levels. That's pretty decent. They also made the sack have a bigger cap, which, yeah, like, it's really annoying for you to fucking sometimes not being able... after you buy the upgrade, that doesn't happen, but before you buy the upgrade, it's really annoying for you to be like, you need to deposit at a very specific moment, because otherwise, like, the full sack, or the sack doesn't get full or something like that. It's kind of annoying, whatever. They upped it, that's pretty good. They also made it so they added a super hopper, which is essentially a way to deposit pay dirt from the upper level. Thank fuck, no more going down the ladder. They also reduced the upper level or requirement to 57 mining. They adjusted the art diary to be only one perspective piece instead of the entire outfit, which I don't think was entirely necessary. I mean, it is the art diaries after all. If it was medium, sure, but it is the art diaries, so I don't think it was necessarily or entirely necessary, but fine. And they also improved obtaining golden nuggets, so players don't feel they have to end in pay dirt 9 at a time. I don't know what the fuck that means, I'm gonna be completely fucking honest. Like, I read through this like 5 times, I don't know what the fuck that means. I just don't know. But yes, then they made changes to Volcanic Mine, which was to primarily make solo more viable, which in my opinion, solo Volcanic Mine is already pretty viable. You get pretty nice rewards, and you get like around 50 to 60k XP per hour, maybe more sometimes, which it's not actually that bad considering that you're not doing like any tick manipulation methods or anything like that. So it is pretty good already, and they're apparently going to improve it, which I really hope, because a lot of times the problem with Volcanic Mine is that it's very RNG dependent. So you have to check, if you don't know how Volcanic Mine works. So essentially you have you have 3 events that you have to either block or unblock, because they work to the mine stability. And if the events are like, they go from 0 to 100, and you need to try and, have them around, 30 to 70. Because if they're like 0 or 100, they contribute to the mine stability going down, and if the mine stability reaches 0, it blows up and you pretty much die. Now, the problem with doing this, especially solo, is the fact that, and even in teams, this also happens in teams, and this is something that I would like to see changed that they didn't change, is that it's so random that when you go and check the event sometimes, it doesn't really matter how fast you are at fixing it, you just have to leave the mine, because there's no way to recover the vents, and the mine stability is just gonna go to 0 eventually, right? That's something that I would really love them to change, because in teams it's annoying, but solo it's even more annoying, especially because you only check 2 vents doing it solo, so you're actually just completely reliant on, is vent A good or not, and you don't know. And you don't want to know, because like, you don't want to waste like XP and stuff like that by going for it. So I would like to see that changed, and they also added the Prospector outfit to the shop, which fine, no problem. And they removed the kudos requirement. I get that they wanted, especially when they released Fossil Island, to have a thing where like you need to unlock rewards on it, otherwise Fossil Island would be really OP. And Volcanic Mine was kind of OP when it came out. It was really good XP for a non-tick manipulation method. It offered good rewards, right? So, but yeah, look, 150 kudos, I would understand if the requirement was like 50 kudos or something like that, but 150 was like almost the entire fucking museum they required, you know? So, good change. And then they also improved Blast Mine by adding more good layouts, because like Blast Mine has a specific layout because of the... So essentially the way it works is you have a chisel and you place like the dynamite and you light it, and then it's like 3 squares it's going to blow up, so you can stand on those 3 squares. So you have to go like, you mine here and you put the bomb here, and then you go there to that square and do the same, and then you sort of like do alternated, so you don't blow yourself up, you don't take damage and stuff like that, which is fine. But there was only like 1 or 2 good spots per world, so they're gonna add more. They offered more XP rates now, or higher XP, which is fine. I mean, Blast Mine was already pretty good, and it was already above Volcanic Mine, if I'm not mistaken. And especially since you can get Runite ore at level 75 as opposed to 85. That was the reward, but whatever. They also reduced the price of Dynamite, which was 1,000 coins per Dynamite, if I'm not mistaken, which is just fucking insane. Especially now that they have removed Favor and shit like that. Look, the process of making dynamite, of like making charcoal and stuff like that, it was too over complex. No chance people are gonna do this. Especially because like, if you do chambers, you get literally hundreds if not thousands at a time. So it's like, it's literally not worth it for you to ever like fucking make dynamite, never mind buying it, because you just get so much as a drop. So good change. And they also are looking to improve run energy, because when you are setting the dynamite, you don't actually regenerate run energy. Jack X, maybe that little amulet, maybe something to look out for. Agility rewards, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, and lastly, they have, well, not lastly, but they have Amethyst and the Mining Guild, where they made the Amethyst ores be time-based as opposed of chance to deplete, much like the Motherlode Mine. I don't know why they don't just do that to every single fucking, like, mining thing. I think it would be much better than fucking... Because, again, it's just annoying. Mining is... Anything when it comes to resource competition... I made a video about it a couple of months ago. When it comes to anything related to resource competition, just fucking annoying. And they also rebalance the mining gloves. I don't know, like, what they have in mind. The mining gloves right now, in my opinion, are already really good. They are a bit grindy to get, truth be told. You do need to spend a few hours, at least, just to get them. But they are actually pretty good. The chance to deplete... or the chance to not deplete rather, and the chance to give double ore is really good. But I guess if they're gonna make it so Amethyst doesn't deplete, that reward doesn't exactly work there anymore. Next up, they improved a bit of gem mining, or they want to improve. I say they improved, I mean that these are the propositions that they want. They made it so the gem mine in Karanja unlocks with the medium diaries instead of the hard ones. Fine by me. Improve messaging regarding the use of Charge Amulet of Glory while gem mining. I'm gonna be completely honest, this should just be removed. I understand, like, but the Legends Guild and, like, you charge Dragonstone for blah blah blah. Look, this is such a bullshit mechanic. Like, if you don't know and if you're not paying attention to what you're doing, you would never know that, like, you would mine faster with a charged Amulet of Glory. Which is just, like, completely fucking insane, you know what I mean? Like, because you don't have any other mechanic in the game where wearing a specific piece of jewelry increases your XP rate, in the sense that, like, makes you fail less, or because usually when those rewards exist, they are tied to the activity itself. So, like, like the Celestial Ring improves your mining XP rates because it gives you an invisible mining boost. Yeah, but you get it from mining, so it's like that regardless, if you're not completely sure of what this does, that this at least will increase your mining somehow. It will make mining better somehow, right? But like the Dragonstone jewelry, or like it's more specifically the amulet, right? The glory amulet. It's like Why? Because you don't get it from mining. It's such a random piece of equipment to require to make gem rocks viable. I'm so glad that RuneScape 3 did away with it in the rework, because it's kind of fucking stupid. It comes out of nowhere. Most people, unless like again you have external info or you have people that know, are not gonna know that. It's just remove it, yeah. Just remove it, please. Just fucking remove it. Sometimes it's good to remove things. You just removed favor, even though I thought that favor could have done with the rework instead of just an outright removal. But you removed favor. Why can't you fucking remove this? And lastly, you have the sandstone and granite, where they added more viable spots for people that want to tick manipulate. So yeah, that's pretty good. And lastly, we have the Zalcano. Now, the Zalcano, when it comes to what Jagex wants to do, is they want to do mainly two things. They want to add a currency that you get other than, so like you would get the normal drop and then you would get the currency that you can exchange for either extra drops, or you can exchange it for more XP per hour. Sort of like how Sucurias, you get the spines and you can change them for more XP. It would sort of be like that. Personally, I don't like that. I don't think that everything needs a currency, especially not Zalcano. The problem with Zalcano, and the problem that a lot of people have with Zalcano, is that it's not a lot of XP, because it's mostly focused on profit, but it's kind of a sucky training method because a lot of your XP. So I think that Zalcano is supposed to be around 30k XP per hour, except that 30k is at optimal rates, So, and the optimal rates require you to have like a 3 to 4% team. And most RuneScape players have like one fucking friend, no chance they're gonna fucking find 4. So I think the problem here is mostly with scaling, which is the second thing that they said they were going to look at. They were going to look into how Zalcano scales and everything. Personally, I think that is by far the thing that they should do first, and I think that's going to just solve a lot of the problems that people have. I don't think that the problem is necessarily they get 30k mining XP per hour, especially when you're just making bank from Zalcano. I think that the problem is exactly that. For the most part, this boss sucks. If you're doing it solo, it takes way too long and you're not getting like good XP, never mind profit. If you're doing it in the mass world, yeah, I guess you can get decent profit and decent XP, but stuff just goes so fast that you need literally like good RNG and high mining level in order to even get anything useful from the boss, because people just kill it so fast, right? It's not like Wintertodt where you have time to like get your point. No, it's just like boss goes down, you click on it, you mine 3 times and the damage is dealt, and then you have to like redo the entire section again and stuff like that. And that's another thing, in my opinion. I think that the shielding should also be lower, because you don't actually get any mining XP from so you get mining XP from mining Zalcano and from mining the little rocks on the side. That then you get smithing XP for making it into those boulders things, and then you get runecrafting XP. I think it's runecrafting XP, or magic XP, I don't know, from enchanting it, and then you can throw it as Zalcano. I think that should be made much lesser, because overall, if you're there for mining XP, those things take a long time. Like the mining is by far the fastest section of the boss fight, right? So I think that if you want to improve Zalcano, if you want to improve the XP rates and everything, what you do is simply you make the mining sections last longer, and you make it so the scaling is overall better. And then if there's still issues and people still want better XP rates, then you think about the currency. But I'm not a huge fan of like, okay, so we have a problem with XP rates, what we're gonna do? Currency. I think that in terms of solutions, it's too abrasive in a way. It's like you're not actually looking for the health of the game at that point, because you're not looking at the core problem of the issue, right? So if the issue here is the fact that people aren't happy with how much effort you put into the abysmal XP rates, and even then the profit isn't that bad, then maybe we should look at the XP rates themselves. Why are they bad? Okay, most people don't do this in mass worlds. Like the boss is impossible to do solo, the XP rates really suck at solo and whatnot. Right, so you have all of these problems. If you want to do it in a mass world, for the most part, you need high mining level, because otherwise, again, the XP rates will be completely garbage and everything. Okay, so maybe the problem here isn't so much the fact that the boss doesn't offer enough XP, but it's the fact that the boss requires a very specific setup to be good XP. It's sort of like, Winter Todd requiring 4 people to be like really good XP, because in a mass world the boss would just die so fast they wouldn't be able to get XP. So like maybe we should look into the boss's mechanics and the way it scales, and maybe its drop table, rather than just add a currency and that solves the problem. I don't know, I think I made a joke a couple of months ago, maybe years ago, where like every skill was like gonna have its own skilling boss, like Winter Todd, because that's how Jagex is like, no, it needs to be the best XP per hour and needs to have drops type thing, and how every skill was gonna like have that. This is sort of the same circumstance where it's like every boss is gonna have its own currency in order to change for extra rewards or something. I don't know, I feel that like I'm not against certain bosses functioning differently, like again, I think that each boss sort of being different and being approached differently, or offering a different way to approach it, is already good. Like I like that diversity of how different bosses work when it comes to approaching them, when it comes to fighting them, when it comes to, most of these things. I forget like what was the approach that I thought about. Because like I know that there was a boss that I praised a couple of months ago in a video about having a different approach. But I don't remember which one it was. But regardless, like I like how Jagex usually approaches bosses differently. The last thing I want is for every boss to be like Sicarius in that, you have currency to trade for more XP. Like Sicarius is unique and I like it because you can trade spines for XP. That makes it into a unique boss. But if every boss is gonna do that, then what's the fucking point? Like as much as I like things in the game to be uniform, right, for them to all be consistent, sometimes, especially since it's a sandbox game, you need things to be inconsistent. You need things to work differently from each other, because that's how you offer different rewards. Like again, for example, consistently speaking, you should offer marks of grace in every single agility related course, right? However, I think that in this case, it's good to offer different types of rewards for the agility courses, because I think that does a better job at, presenting choice for the players and presenting what they want to do and giving players choice on how they want to approach something. And I think that with Volcano and currency, it's sort of the same. Look, first look into the scaling. Look, if by scaling alone and by looking at the drop table, you can solve the issues with the GP per hour, with XP per hour. See how people react to it. Are people more happy because it's easier to achieve the maximum XP per hour and everything? And then if there is an issue still, and if you think that the currency will definitely be the way to solve it, then you add that currency. But for now, I don't think it's necessarily needed. And then you just have 2 more like miscellaneous improvements. So essentially three, I guess. The Toxic Blow Pipe requires 7 flashing instead of 53, which I don't know why it required 53, but whatever. The Gothics rests can be made in a single action, so as long as you have everything in your inventory, you can just click to make the Gothics rest and it will make it automatically, as opposed to just doing it in the wrong order and then you get fucked. They also made the make all functionality with Barbarian Potions, again, another good change. Quality of life, we like it. Necklace of Faith provides more prayer points. The Ring of Pursuit, it says 100%, again, like making the Ring of Pursuit more useful overall, and whatnot. And they also changed the Dorgashan Lights Orb activity, which most players don't even know exists. I fucking bet, because honestly, it's kind of obscure. I know it exists because I never did it, but sometimes I get curious, so I just go to the weekend. I was like, okay, if I can craft light orbs with crafting, what are they used for? And whatnot. But yeah, so essentially they just made a bunch of changes to it to make it easier and make it more rewarding to do. We'll see how people react to it, but yeah, that's pretty much the entire changes for this specific I guess blog post. Again, this doesn't mean that all of them will... Oh wait, I forgot one change. So they changed the level from the Drainer Rooftop course from 10 to 1, and the agility course, the Gnome Stronghold agility course, from 1 to 10. Forgot to talk about that, but yeah, obviously a lot of the changes aren't in the game yet. These are just them, posting a blog post for, to ask players for feedback and whatnot. I think that overall, this entire post was really good. a lot of the changes were, some of them were kind of obvious, like the agility shortcuts and stuff like that, but overall they were really good, and I really like the fact that Jagex is doing these rebalance blog posts and then bringing them into the game, because I do think that a lot of the skills do need a bit of push to be more polished and overall have, more choices when it comes to them. Obviously, again, some things I didn't like, but overall I think it was really positive. Let's see what feedback Jagex does have. By the way, there is a survey they can do in the blog post. So if you go to the end, there's a survey that you can click on, asking you about agility and Slayer and mining and blah blah blah. So if you want to give your feedback, definitely go to the RuneScape site and go to news, and then you have Project Rebalance Part 1 Scaling, and then you'll click on it. This isn't the last one either, and yeah, once the next one comes out, I'll probably talk about that one as well.